Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It is time for the program. My name is Dean. Busy day today. We've got a surprise, which we'll get rid of right off the top, which will be a lot of fun. Lachlan's back. Took the garbage out naked the other day. We have video of that. James DeFiore is here. He thought this was a hair show, so he's excited. And a guy I haven't talked to for, Jesus Christ, it's got to be 10 years personally until we literally got on the podcast. Prior to getting on the podcast, joins us today as well. Quick shout out to EasyAutoFinancial.ca, where you can get a car. Also, our friends over at Domination.com for making this possible. And Blue Microphones, as well as Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch. That's why we're here. But without further ado, let's get into this. Please welcome to the program all of us and our special guest today, Mr. Robin Black, ladies and gentlemen. Robin Black, MMA analyst. Robin Black, he's here. It took us like 5 texts in about a month to get this done, but dude, it is fucking wild to sit here in front of you on this, knowing how long we've known each other, also how long we've gone between talking to each other. So welcome. Great to see you. How the fuck are you?
Good. Like literally good. And as soon as you sent a note saying let's connect, I'm like, fuck, I can't wait. We're just going to chat about anything. For a second, I was in the middle of the thing. That looked really cool. Now I'm in the top. Oh, now I'm all of it.
Oh, now it's all you.
Now it's all me. Nah, man, like life is good, you know, like, and I don't have to tell you this, like when you get to just do your thing, like that's all you ever wanted. You know, when you're a little kid, if little kid Dean was like, one day I'll have my own thing where I can just do whatever the fuck I want, you'd be blown away. Same with me. Like I wanted to get to talk about martial arts and see if I could learn something about life in doing so. And I literally do that. I don't do anything else. I hang out with my wife, who I dig and is my best friend, and a couple of friends, and I do my thing all day, and I'm very happy, and I'm super lucky, and I dig it.
It's awesome. You know, I was thinking about it before we started the podcast. Obviously, you're an analyst, MMA analyst. You've been doing this now for well over a decade. And I say that because I've got a little bit of a signpost, because you and I met 2001, so 20 years ago.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I remember seeing you open up for, and I don't know who you were opening up for, but it was at the Cool House, which was formerly called the Government, or vice versa. And you were part of this band called Robin Black and the Intergalactic Rock Stars. Here you are.
Yeah.
This is your band.
Yeah.
And you were a very animated hair band. And if you haven't seen any Robin Black and the Intergalactic Rock Stars, I don't know if you got some stuff on YouTube. I looked for some stuff, couldn't find a lot. But fuck, you guys gave everything. You were hard drinking, swearing, screaming, acting like we all acted if we thought we were something at that time. Like I was pretending to be a really in control radio DJ. Remember that when I was like, hey, look at me, I'm in control.
I can do shit.
Yeah. Look at me. I feel my own importance. And this picture, which I love because now you've got eyebrows again, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Again, like this is you.
Did you
with
keep
the
nipple rings, Robin?
Yeah.
No, when I started training, so I had nipple rings, I had all kinds of jewelry, and I would start training to go fight. That's what the path I was on. And I'd go in and I would like take out all of this jewelry. I had a penis ring and like all kinds of stuff. And I would take it all out, and then I would train, and then I would yes.
I just want to know what I can't believe I'm the one asking.
Yeah.
What part of the penis gets pierced? I don't even know.
The head.
Yes.
Really? Like a bowl, through the nose kind of thing?
Funny you should ask. So I did have what they called a Prince Albert, which was down the hole and then with a curved needle out the bottom, and then a ring sticks into the end of it, sort of like this.
What? Why do you hate yourself so much? Why would you do that?
Well, and so interestingly, the reason it's called a Prince Albert is because apparently some prince named Albert had a very long schlong, and when he rode this is apparently true. When he rode horses, it would smash on the saddle, and so he had a doctor add a ring into the end of it so he could tie it to the side. so he could take
I'm pretty sure Prince Albert himself started that rumor. But
yes, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
I had no such problems. Yeah. So, but all of those, you would take them out and you would train and sweat and fight and stuff, and then you shower and you put them back in, and it sort of worked. It was a hassle. It was like a long process, but they started getting infected because you're rolling around in the sweat of other men in wrestling rooms, and then you with dirty hands putting in and out of, and so eventually everything's gone. I still have
that
one
sounds like
piercing.
their original purpose.
Where's
Yeah.
the one piercing you have now?
So I have these two. I have, they call it a gooch. My butt is pierced at the bottom. Yeah, I'm serious. At the bottom. And it's only, my taint is pierced. And I literally still wear that because it's hidden essentially inside the padding of your body. And so it never went away. It never caused a problem. It never got torn. I fought with it in. And so it just sits there.
If it's on your taint, it should be like a miniature pylon.
Robin.
No, yes.
Robin, I need you to be honest with all of us. You didn't take it out because you couldn't get it out.
Well, I haven't tried, to be honest, but it's so.
And no one's going down there.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah,
and,
I know she loves you, but she's probably not going to go fish that out.
No.
So I understand why you kept it.
And when they take those things out, it's like a pliers in reverse, and you squeeze it, and the plier pries. And that's how you pry. And so just fuck that. It sits in there. It's been there forever. It's sad. It's sad all there by itself.
Lonely.
Stupid.
I don't want to get hyper focused on your Prince Albert.
Yes.
But is there still evidence of
when I urinate
you did to your dick?
When I urinate,
or does it spray to the side?
It does. It's still. There's the normal. It's a sort of a secondary sort of hose pad.
So you're a sitter.
They call that Brokeback Fountain, I believe.
Yes, very, very nicely done. I often or semi-regularly sit to pee at home. Out in the world, all bets are off.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and why would you buy? Like, listen, I sit to pee as a general rule because I live on my own and I have to clean the bathroom, so it's easy for me to sit to pee. So it's just the only difference between you and me is that you have an extra hole in that area and I don't. That's it.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny is that we showed pictures of you and you're talking about your piercings and your lifestyle. But if you didn't meet Robin Black
put a
and all
picture
of
his
his
cock up, are you?
No.
Okay.
Nobody needs that.
Nobody needs that. Yeah. No one needs that.
No.
But you're not the same guy. No. Like if you watch and listen, I met you and I were both rough. We both thought we had it all figured out.
Yeah.
But it's tweets like this that attracted me back to your Twitter feed, and then all of a sudden you pop up on TSN. I want to read this to you. We are losing our understanding of failure and success. Example, striving with passion and ruthless commitment to be the best in the world and coming up short only to end up only 17th best in the earth is a win. A loss would be not having tried. Like you filter in these incredible life skills, life lessons, quotes about remembering who you are, talking about ego, just being part of the process, working with the universe. What happened from the gooch piercing Prince Albert wearing rock star who would come into the studio and you and I would actually have like kind of mini fights, but then I think there was a mutual respect there.
Yeah.
We're like, that guy's that guy and I'm my guy and I really But like what happened? Was there a rock bottom? Was it just, hey, I'm morphing into something else? Like what's the change and what were the catalysts for change?
That's a really good question because you go from it's really interesting when you stop hopefully any of us from anywhere to anywhere and say, what was that path? And of course, there's many little sort of offshoots and stuff, but essentially you're either trying to figure out how to have a better life or you're doing nothing, which will mean you'll most likely have a worse life. And I really believe that. The world is constantly changing. The world is full of challenges, anxieties, fears, pitfalls, bad turns, traps. Fucking Doritos are a trap. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to sell you garbage to sit on the couch longer, to consume more news, to get more angry, to eat more Doritos. So like the world is full of these traps. You're either doing something about it or you're not. And I always was like, I always was curious. There were a number of things. And when you try to pinpoint anything, like I'll often tell the story and it is entirely truthful, but I'll tell it as if this was the crystallizing point. I had a seizure while on tour with my rock band. And yes, that was a massive turning point because in my mind, when I'm following the path, I'm singing shirtless, covered in beer, snorting cocaine in the back. Then I have a seizure and then I start training and then I start to pursue, being a martial artist. But really, that's a fortunate moment. That's sort of like something, everything's not quite right. And often I think we often in life kind of realize that. And I have the good fortune to kind of understand that I have some control over that. And so that was one of the kind of key turning points. I'm in England. We had been partying for days and days and days straight. I literally had a seizure. You kind of feel it tingling into your arms. As your body seizes up, you think to yourself, oh, fuck. Like it definitely fucked something up here. And then I go and I literally remember that. And apparently I yelled something random, like throw water on me or something along those lines. And you come to, and everybody's looking at you. And I've been knocked out fighting, and it's similar. Like you feel like only 1 second went by because when you are detached from you've been separated from consciousness. Yes, exactly. You're separated from consciousness. You don't know how long that is, but apparently I was in seizure for like a minute or 45 seconds or a minute and 10 seconds or something. And that was a big catalyst. But I was fortunate that happened because everything was kind of not going on a logical path and I could tell. And I was stuck very much in this idea that you don't quit anything, right? We're going to be a successful rock band. All kinds of shit could be going wrong in our life, but you can't be a quitter. And I think that was an important one. Yes, of course you can. When the path you're on is incorrect, it's never too late to go back. And that was a big turning. That was a big moment. But there's been lots of them. I'm trying to figure out how to do it better all the time. And whatever it is, be a better person, be a better husband, learn something more valuable, be healthier, be worth listening to. Like I'm always trying to do it better.
Mm-hmm. So we're not allowed to do cocaine anymore? I want to get that out of the way before we continue.
I wouldn't advise it.
Robin, sorry, I've known you for years and I've interviewed you a couple of times. Mm-hmm. At what point did you think it was a good idea to start doing blow? You are already naturally at fucking 11.
Amped up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got an idea. Let's do this harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
That's a really good question. Yeah. And honestly, the seizure, they said, the cocaine, and actually in England, we would do a lot more what they just called amphetamine, which is essentially biker speed, right? They just called it amphetamine right now. Yeah, but it was essentially this powerful biker speed. So we would do cocaine and amphetamine, and the doctor said after, when I was talking to him and I got home and I was like in a lot of pain because apparently there's a lot of enzymes that get released in your body when you have a seizure and it fucking hurts for days. And so, and I was talking to him about it and he said, yeah, the cocaine was bad and the speed was bad and the alcohol was bad. He goes, but because he asked me sort of what we were doing and he goes, really, what did it to you? He said, was all the Red Bull you were drinking. And I said, really? He said, for real, dead serious. He said the drugs kept you awake long enough to eat a lot of garbage food and offset the alcohol when you started to drink. And I said I had like 8 or 10 Red Bulls in the van that day. And he said the Red Bulls drove your sugar so high that when the alcohol leaves your body, it drags sugar out. So you're on this sugar high, fueled by all these other drugs, and then your sugar starts to crash, and then the alcohol sucks more out of there, and boom, hypoglycemic seizure.
Okay, so it is okay to do cocaine. Thank you. I knew we would get there, Robin.
Don't drink Red Bull.
You just got to rotate the nostrils when you do cocaine. If you rotate the nostrils, you won't get a seizure. Yeah.
I personally recommend against doing cocaine, for the record.
Yeah.
But Also, back then they didn't have some drug in drugs that killed you. They just you could die of doing the drugs, but now there's a drug in drugs that can also kill you. Apparently,
well, Robin,
I just advise against it.
If I may say that you're fortuitous to come on a show with the three of us, because two of us have also learned that lesson and have changed our lives for the better.
Yeah. See this, and
all right.
One of us has it.
Hold on.
One of us
You
has
fucking you eat a fistful of fucking mushrooms every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and
they're
it's the
organic.
alcoholic you guys are picking on? Bite me.
Yeah.
And fucking Gane sitting up here fucking pounding on a vape all day. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's just nicotine, dude. It's just nicotine. Relax. I'm good. It doesn't affect my mental state. But listen, I want to get and James brings up a good point. James brings up a good point. I'm 48. I don't know if you know this. It is Robin Black's birthday today.
Today.
How? Yeah, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, dude. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
We got him a present, Dean, backstage too.
No, we didn't get him any presents because I don't give people drugs because they don't want to do them. But but coming back from that story, where you're from, it's your birthday today. You've been, and I remember when you started just getting into MMA, you're like, I train like a dog, and then I party my dick off on the weekends. Yeah. At this age, don't know how old you are, got to be over 40. Are you
over
clean?
50?
You're over 50.
Say Robin's in his 50s.
Oh my
I knew
God,
that.
You would not look this good if you kept doing coke, dude.
Exactly. Exactly. I think you answered your own question before you asked it, but I'll drink some beer. I'll have some tequila if I was on vacation, but I'd prefer to not. I don't even smoke marijuana. It became legal, and I was like, I just did so much of that back in the day. I'm not I'm not. What's the word? Abstinent. But I tend to be about being healthy, about good sleep, good food, exercise all the time, like trying to optimize this thing so that it works the best. So today is my birthday. I'll tell you guys something I haven't really told anybody yet, certainly not in any type of streaming environment or but I'm having a baby too. My wife is pregnant.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I know.
Successful ejaculation. Well done.
Yeah. I know, it was the easy part, right? So like I'm trying to, I turned 52 today. I'm gonna have a daughter in January. When she's 18, I'll be 70. Like
dead.
Yeah, I'll be or dead. I'll be either 70 or dead. That nerd dad, thank you. Again, I didn't do much, but so
cardio,
it is essentially my job now. If I'm going to try to be, take a small human yet to be born and try to give them a good life, a big part of my job is to have my shit together. So
But you know what? It's fun. I didn't get that. Like, I had 3 kids. I was working my balls off at a high test job at 3:00 in the morning for 15 years. And I didn't understand that part. And I needed like a really terrible outcome, a series of terrible outcomes like you had, to want to get unstuck, to want to go from misery, negativity, toxicity, to being a victim, to authoring my own story. And it required a bunch of things. It required not drinking. It required going to people who experienced happiness and who'd been through my journey and asking them how did you get happy? It required reading. It required therapy. It required meditation. It required
emotional labor.
Emotional
labor.
But you know what I found it really required, and I see it in you, which is why I was so excited to talk to you. It required the understanding that we cannot operate from a position of ego ever if we want to live a meaningful life. What were the tools, and how did you get to that point? Like, what did you do from I need to figure this out to where you are today, 52, look like $1 million, about to start a family, spreading happiness, joy, and peace of mind to people? What were your tools?
So much of it was being, some amount of sobriety and the path. That's a start. Health, but in the process of trying to be a successful martial artist, so I love fighting. I love the way that humans move. I love the way that the conflict between two unwilling dance partners with conflicting objectives, the journey of it, the metaphor of it, all of that. And that was a big part of the path that I wanted to achieve. And in fact, during very large parts of it, in that process you're talking about, I've gone to 90 meetings in 90 days in environments with people that have those stories. And that's been a part of my journey of traveling to learn these things. But a big part of it was trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing and improving something and failing again. It's a hard path, and fighting was really hard. When I played in a rock band, it became quite easy. I wasn't performing at the level that I would have thought I should, but to go out on stage at the Cool House and jump and kick and entertain people and have them cheer and stuff, it became, at that level, it became very easy. It was I would do this and I would go like this and I would drink this thing and it would go down my chest and I'd splash it out like this and I'd say 2 or 3 things and people all reacted to it. And fighting, there was no, of all the cliches in the world, the moment of truth, there's no bullshit. Like, that guy choked me out in front of my parents, wearing my underpants on live television, naked from the chest up. And when I came to and I looked up, and my parents, I got them seats in the front. I know my mother didn't do this, but my memory is that her, and when I see her, is her going like this. She didn't do that. My mother, my wonderful, sweet mother. No, she didn't. My mother, what like she was probably thinking is, I'm so proud of you. But in my mind, it was like,
oh, yeah, at him.
So these types of failure setbacks, and then along the way, you're learning these different things. You're trying to understand. You study a bit of Stoicism. You study other people's paths. You hear other people's stories, and you see.
By the way, we've heard the horse story, so save it.
No, just so you know, Robin, what you might not know is I'm a practicing Stoic as well.
Oh, amazing!
And
amazing.
Yeah, as a practicing Stoic, I've been trying to teach these guys about negative visualization. I've been imparting the wisdom of these guys that you don't have a problem with things, you have a problem with your perception of things.
Right.
And I impart Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Zeno on these guys. And you know what they tell me? You're fucked. You're totally fucked.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to explain to these guys that your life gets better when you can truly understand what memento mori is. We all die.
Yeah.
There's 2 dots in life, the start and the end. And in the middle, you have a choice to make. You can either choose to embrace virtue and character, which I see in you, which is why I was very excited to talk to you. And we haven't talked about Stoicism. So this is like the first foray I have with another person who understands Stoicism, Stoic values, Stoic philosophy, and the promises within 2,500 years of meditations and the Enchiridion. I mean, it really is something that I look to on a daily basis, which teaches us the 4 foundations of being a happy individual. And it continues to change my perspective in life, which is wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And
what's the deal with the fucking cow or the horse then? James didn't get it either.
That was an old Tao fable, which I'm sure you've heard, Robin.
About the horse and his horse ran away? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Is it a good thing or
Don't
a bad
retell
thing?
it.
Maybe good, maybe bad. Who knows? Right?
So there's a number.
Oh no, he's going to retell it.
Yeah, no. If we remove, even to simplicity's sake. So I have a very, very good friend. His name is David Mullins, and he's a sports psychology consultant. And he worked with Conor McGregor, and he's worked with multiple UFC. Conor has talked about him, so I can say that. I know many of the fighters and athletes that he works with that he doesn't talk about publicly, but there are many. And I've worked with him as a friend and as somebody interested in this stuff. And he takes much of that, but he simplifies it for performance. And one of the biggest things you do when somebody comes to you and they say, hey, coach, I'm not hitting baseballs that much, or, I'm fighting in a cage and I'm scared. Well, you should be scared. You're fighting in a cage, or whatever. He will say, okay, we're going to sit down, and no magic. He's going to make 2 columns. What can we control? And what can we not control? And those two columns are going to dictate a lot of your life. I can control how hard I work. I can control how I react to people. I can control how I treat people. I can control how much effort I put forth. I can control how much I meditate or sleep or eat, any of these things. What can I not control? If somebody cuts me off in traffic, if somebody's rude to me, if I lose my job necessarily, I can work harder, but I can't control what my boss may or may not say. There's all of these things in the world that you cannot control. Every moment spent worrying about them is a moment wasted where you could be in making a better life. And and even something like, we'll look at, somebody could freak out, whether it's a mask or Donald Trump or whatever political thing is going on. If you can influence it some way, honestly, perhaps we might want to spend some time there. If you cannot, and it in any way interferes with your ability to be a better person in the world and leave the world a better place, you are doing the wrong thing. You should be concentrating on your efforts on the things you can control. And that's one of the Stoic principles. And there were many. And if you think, Dean, like, it's so cool that you are practicing Stoic, because you look at, even when this era was, it's so similar to our era. It is at the tail end, perhaps, of a very booming period of pandemic, wars all over the world, small, and things getting perhaps in some ways worse than they were before, and then realizing it's your perspective you can control. You cannot control a vaccine passport necessarily, or some political bullshit, or how the internet changes radio or television. We cannot control these things. What we can control is how we react to those things. And it sounds simple because it is simple, but practicing it is more difficult.
Well, that makes more sense than that fucking horse story you were trying to tell.
But if you think about that story, the story in itself offers so much beauty to me, because maybe good, maybe bad, who knows? That is life, man. That is life. And the way, and we look at life through a lens of wants instead of needs, right? And when you identify your needs through the process of getting a life philosophy, or telling your ego, you're done, I can't take you with me on this next journey and this next chapter of your life, everything becomes easier. Conflict becomes easier. Making sense makes sense. You operate from a position of kindness and the greater good, as opposed to selfishness and your wants and your value system according to external gratuity. This isn't a hard concept, but for some reason, Robin, you and I ignored common sense until it was almost too late. I don't want to speak for, but one of the things that dawned on me when I was prepping for this is, we spend so much time walking around in total fucking ignorance because our ego tells us we know better. When you finally decided, because you're so much more likable now, and I can imagine I might be as well.
You are. You are.
But when you decided to put away your ego, what are things, and you decided to embrace a better mental capacity? Mentally, these guys are fucked. What changed? Like, what parts of your life changed? Because I can tell people that everything in my life that has happened on time. It was perfect. From getting fired to getting into AA and being in those rooms, to my personal journey about mental wellness and my mental health, and trying to figure out what kind of life philosophy was going to keep me moored, one with virtue and character, because those are the things that were really fucking important to me and still are. Because what it does is it releases you from that daily anxiety, that fear. And then you get over this imposter syndrome where that little kid who was choked out on that mat looked over at his mom, who went like this, fuck, can't believe you failed. I failed again. But that's in my mind, it's that fear that prevents us from actually learning and prevents us from evolving.
Yeah, there's so many things, they're little at a time, they're bits and pieces, but it's you begin on that path, and then it becomes somewhat easier. It becomes a way to live and a way to think, and like getting carried out of an arena on a stretcher. Again, I've won fights. I won this belt.
Hey, how far did you get, Robin?
This was a Canadian title that I won in Moncton, and I had 9 professional fights, but the losses were the keys for me. They were hard. Failure is really kind of important. You have to try and succeed, But if you try long enough, you will face setbacks, and the setbacks are the real things. Your ego will allow you to one of two directions when you fail. That was bullshit. Somebody screwed me. Something was wrong. I am correct. Or, and again, that'll go back to controllables and non-controllables. The thing that will benefit you the most is, what did I do wrong? Where was the flaw in my process? Is there something incorrect with the way I'm seeing things? Is this me? Like, what did I do? Because if I did nothing, I can change that. But if I am somehow responsible for my failures or my setbacks, or the things I do wrong to other people, or you know, you should approach. I like to approach myself with a higher expectation of my own behavior than anybody else's, because I should have no expectation of them. If I get mad at somebody else, and that happens much less often. Much less often. I'm proud to say I treat people really good, like a lot, like most of the time. I've developed slowly this reputation as a really good person, which is incredibly nice to be able to say out loud and know that people feel that way, although that's not the point. It's not really about what they feel. It's about doing the right thing. But despite that, there will be times where I will be rude or obnoxious or angry or something. If I do that, if I do that, I know for sure these days that there's a reason. Did I get not enough sleep? Is my mom sick? You know, is my 15-year-old chihuahua in the vet? You know, am I afraid of something? Am I anxious? Am I weirded out about something? I am. I know that I am. That's why I was that way. So why the fuck, when somebody's rude to me, would I think that means they're an asshole? I know for sure they're just like me. When the guy screamed at me when he cut me off in traffic, his mother could be in the hospital. He could have just found out he's lost his job and he's got twins on the way. Like, humans are humans. And once you start to realize that, and you start to think about, it's so different. It's so much challenge for us to make sense of our own thoughts. Why the fuck would we be trying to figure out what somebody else is thinking, or why they're doing things the way they're doing? They're on their own trip. That's none of my business. And these things, over time, you start to just become foundational ways that you see the world, and you become a lot happier. Dean, you're obviously a lot happier. You're obviously like thriving, you know, not surviving. You're obviously thriving, you know, and it's cool. You can look back at turning points, and you know, this is what we're all hoping for everybody.
Look at him even right now. He's so content. He looks like Richard Gere in a pet store.
That's because he's got somebody that is like, gets what he's been trying to, the message.
Say to these
can I
idiots.
say this out loud, Robin? And yes. I don't want to shit on anything you just said, because it was very inspirational. But sometimes, though, and not always, somebody is just a cunt, right?
Yes,
and that's 100%. Okay too.
Dean,
you just need to come to terms with it.
100%. Dean, what is it that in the that Marcus Aurelius said early in Meditations? It was like, you'll go out into the world and you will meet people who are, and there's just a list.
Yeah, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself that the people you encounter today will be troublesome, angry, pissed off, assholes, dicks, all that stuff. Again, that's negative visualization. Like, I expect to run into, as Lachlan calls them, cunts all the time. I precondition myself. I go, like, when I leave the house, I'm like, time to go and mix it up with the cunts. That's literally how I look at it. Because, and I don't know why someone's being that way, and I can't say that someone's being that way, but I can tell you at my very worst, PTSD, depression, trying to make my way through it, just a smile from a cashier at Shoppers Drug Mart meant the world to me, because no one knew what I was dealing with, right? And I think that's what you're saying. And I think when you can approach that, other people, Lachlan calls them cunts, whatever. When you
correct, they're cunts, and that's okay, because what we cannot do is be worried about them being a cunt. What we can do is control how we react to cunts in the world. Right?
Sometimes you want to kill the cunt. Right?
Yeah.
Like my stepmother. Just for example, off the top of my head, my stepmother's a cunt. And if she died, it would be kind of cool, and everyone would be happier.
Yeah, so, but the goal in Stoicism isn't very different from any other person's goal about living a healthy, well lifestyle. It's literally knowing that that you have to be able to control your reaction to everybody around you, because life is full of negativity. And if you can deal with negativity by knowing that intrinsically you have the tools to be able to walk past a problem or help out when you're asked and not breathe any emotion into it, not get triggered, that is the key to living a fucking life full of equanimity, for God's sakes. And people don't realize that we walk around saying, if that guy would just do this, I would be happier. If my wife would stop doing this, I would be happier. Really? So what about you? What triggers you? What makes you that way? Why do you feel that way about that person? Don't you want mental freedom from that? I did. And that's what this is about. That's what I think at this point. Anyway, I used to think life was a smash and grab. I'm sure you did too, but it's not.
Yeah. No, it's not. No, it's, I mean, if you could actually leave the world better than you found it, if you could in some way add some value, I mean, what else are we even fucking here for? Because after enough booze or chocolate or sex or whatever, money, whatever it is, it will never be enough. So there's got to be some other purpose, and it's to do what's right. It's to try to, in some way, add some value to the world around you. And if you're the best way to do that is to be the best you possible. And that is not ego. That is doing it for the right reason. Your ego will drive you the wrong way. But you asked about ego too, and it's like, you cannot get better at anything. And I've always been driven to improve, to learn more than I knew yesterday, or to be better at something. That's always been a fundamental driver for me. And eventually you realize you're not doing it. And sometime along the path, in whatever fortunate way you're fortunate to be exposed to this idea, you realize, if I think I know everything, it is impossible for me to learn anything. Like, if I think I'm smart, I'm not going to learn anything. If I think I'm an expert, I won't learn anything. If I think I'm great, I can't become great. Like, you have, and factually speaking, no matter what you know, it is, if you could live for 200 more years or 300 more years, which you will not, but if you could, and continue to learn and improve, and if not understand the topic more, understand society more, or understand the world or physics or time or religion, whatever it is, if you were to gain more knowledge, you would understand something infinitely more than you know it today, which means you don't know shit, right? If you could know way more in 100 years by working hard than you know today, then today's not that, what you know today is really not that quantitatively big. And knowing that drives humility. You know, once you realize, oh, you're a martial arts expert. Joe Rogan called me a martial arts expert the other day. I felt great when Joe Rogan said that, because he's fucking Joe Rogan. He's a martial arts expert. And he's like, cool. And he said that, and I felt great. But truthfully, even if that were true in some relative term, if I were fortunate enough to be able to gain knowledge for 6 more years or 20 more years or 13 years or 9 months, I'll know more than I know today. And I know that to be true, which means what I know today is a drop about what is possible to be known. And if you look at most of the world that way, what's possible to be, in your way of seeing the world and your understanding of the world around you and how you treat people, all of these things, if you understand you're very low on your, where you could, we're trying to become our potentialities. That's what that's what you want from your children. You want them to literally become their potentialities. Well, we're all very far from it, which is not discouraging. It's very encouraging. It means you got lots of room where you could continue to improve and grow for as long as you live.
Robin, I am, I'm not an expert. I am a casual fan of MMA, and I know we don't have a lot more time with you. I don't want to leave without at least addressing one or two questions that I had about the sport itself. Right now, there's a lot of eyes on Connor and some of his tweets. Do you think Connor's at a place right now where he needs, I think he's sort of always been on the edge. Do you think he's looking for attention, or do you think he needs help? Like, what's your take on where he's at right now?
That's a really great question. And I don't know that it's my place to decide that for him, or even to have an opinion. I'm not really interested in opinions, especially my own. Having said that, I bet you if everything that Dean said about where he was and how he felt, and myself as well, I bet Connor feels a lot of those things. Like, you know, the fundamental drive to achieve something, often when we're young, is about money or fame or power or influence. And I know Connor to a certain degree, and he was driven by success and records and legacy and money and belts. Well, he got all that shit, right? All of it. And he's not happy. Like he isn't happy, you know? I now at this point, when I love to watch human beings fight, all different elements of it, how it relates in different ways. But I like to really see these people's lives and learn about it, learn about living, because some of the people who are achieving great things are doing it with really valuable psychological and emotional tools we can learn about. And and Connor was that guy, man. It was incredible to be around him. And I was around him. I was analyzing him up close. I was speaking to him and seeing him and analyzing his work. And it seemed like he could achieve anything. And now it seems like nothing he does goes right. And something's wrong, you know? And, you know, I'll call it greed. There's different ways we can describe it, but wanting to be financially richer or have bigger boats, I don't think has ever made anyone happy. I really don't believe that it ever really has. And even when you hear that, people are like, well, yeah, that guy says he's depressed, but sure, I'd be depressed too, but I'd rather be depressed on a yacht. No, you wouldn't. You really wouldn't, because now you have all the things they told you would give you happiness and you're still not happy. What more hope? How more hopeless could you feel than that? And it sounds weird. We all have met rich and famous people who are more miserable than the artist who gets to paint the stuff that he loves every day. I mean, we all have. And Connor seems to be, I mean, he seems angry and he seems frightened and he seems scared. And, you know, having a whiskey company when you like to drink may not be the best thing in the world. You know, there's all types of, speaking of cocaine, that pops up in conversation. Doesn't mean it's true. Sex, women, money, gold, belts, power, influence. These things aren't fundamentally going to make him or anybody else happy. So, you know, and he certainly, when in the middle of the night, like, I don't know about you guys or the two of you that are drunks who no longer drink alcohol, but I don't know how many times you guys ever angrily tweeted while drunk in your life. It was early in the game that you know, said, but all of it, most people have if they have a problem. And he is doing that every week right now with a broken leg in half. Undoubtedly, you have to be prescribed opiates for a broken leg, probably. He's got a whiskey company. He's hanging out with Justin Bieber all the time and famous people. I mean, he appears, it doesn't look good anyways. But we could talk to him 6 years from now. And the great thing about, and Dean said too, like, you're where you are at the right times. This could be a key element to a period of his life in 2027 where he has never imagined life could be as good as it is then. And this could be a part of that. We're all just at different points in the path all the time.
Speaking of how your life is right now, how much of that positivity do you owe to finally getting your purple belt?
That's I mean, these are all little accomplishments, right? Like, martial arts is a big part of my life, but it's not I'm more excited, of course, and I would think this would be true of anybody. My ear thing might have gone, so we might be talking in the.
I got you.
Oh, you still got me.
Yeah.
Of course, having a baby is the thing that's the most important part to me right now. But yeah, these accomplishments, you know, somebody a friend and martial artist that inspired me, and Justin Bruckman is his name. You know, he's a human being that inspires me. He gave me my purple belt in jiu-jitsu, one of the many different martial arts that I've studied, and that was a big one. And not
interesting. Interesting that you mentioned. Yeah, you mentioned Justin Bruckman because he's here.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Say that to Justin Bruckman, ladies.
But do you guys know each other? Yay! Yay!
So Robin, yay. I knew your face, but I don't think that the Robin Black name was branded in my head. So I was just started background on you today just to see what you were all about. And then I saw some things. I'm like, oh, okay, I know this guy. But before I did anything, I was like, who do I know that's MMA? And there's only one guy. I grew up in the same town as Justin Bruckman.
Yay!
So before I started anything, I just Googled your name and his name. And it turns out you guys know each
cool.
other. So
Yeah,
then I
Justin-
contacted him and just to see, you know, if he would.
Now I'm embarrassed that I was saying all these nice things about Justin while I was sitting here.
No.
Yeah,
You did make sure you got the kid thing in there, right?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yes,
Yeah,
I
that's-
did.
The
that's
kid's
pretty
more
big.
important than the fucking purple belt. I think you're good. You're on the right path.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
but
how do
Justin's
you
one of these
guys-
people
Yeah.
that like
Tell us how you know each other.
so actually Justin, there was a whole world of people, Dean, when we met and I was, starting to do martial arts and going to fight professionally 1, 2, 3 times. There was all of these OGs that I really looked up to. They didn't welcome me right away, but I figured maybe one day they would. And Justin always treated me a little better than many of them. But I looked up to these guys, and Justin is a very inspiring human being and a very good friend. I tattooed BINK on him, incidentally, like with a tattoo gun. And so when it was, and you look up to these people, martial arts, you make friends, you make friendships, you learn things from different people. And Justin was somebody I always looked up to. So when it came time to be, making sure that I found some, I look for teachers, and Justin is a friend and a teacher. And so it meant a lot to me for Justin, who fought fucking George St. Pierre and was one of the guys that was Sam Stout and Sean Tompkins and Justin, all these guys that were like really important to me that I looked up to. And now I feel like I'm almost a part of their world.
Justin, is any of that true? And what was he like as a student? Was he shit to start? Did he start to get it? Was he a willing student? Did he have good moments, bad moments? What's your relationship like with him? And thanks for joining us, by the way.
And did you know he still kept his taint piercing?
I was just gonna say that every time I look at him now, just that scene from Me, Myself, and Irene, where Jim Carrey asks Renee Zellweger, "Why am I peeing like I was awake having sex all night?" The hardest thing to teach anyone is how to actually be a student in the first place, right? And Robin's a professional student. That's all he wants to do is learn. So teaching him jiu-jitsu is easy as shit, because like there isn't anyone as thirsty for knowledge as that guy. And and on top of that, we're already good friends. We have so many like similar views and opinions on the martial arts and on the world that it's just easy to hang out and get it done. And it was me and a couple of my students. We just beat the piss out of him for a week, and then gave him a belt, and then he fucking tattooed me.
Yeah, he nailed it. Yeah, he nailed it. My back was so tight after 3-4 hours a day, and I've been studying martial arts for much of my life, and jiu-jitsu for the last, I was a blue belt for like 12 years. And, but Justin was like, well, we're going to do like some intensive work over, a very short period of time, very intense. I learned a ton in that time, but my back seized up and my hips were super tight and I was really sore. And we drank a lot of coffee, and I learned a lot. And always, like, at some point you progress to another point, but always the purple belt made me proud, but getting it from Justin made me very, very, and still does. And it actually is truly one of my favorite things. Like it's certainly in this chapter of my martial arts journey. Fucking love you, Justin Bruckman.
Oh, shucks. Silly goose. Yeah,
where did BINK go? Where did BINK go?
I tattooed BINK on his wiener.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Right
That's
next to
a
my
really
Chris
good friend.
No,
Probably large font. He's a big dude, so it's probably really big font, like Sanskrit.
No, it's on his leg. It's on his leg.
Is it weird, Justin? Like, you trained. You've seen Robin Black go from like rock star to like really one of the world's preeminent up and coming MMA analysts, right? You're wearing his shirt, like he's coined a term. And we'll get to some of those BINKS. Do you feel like he owes you something? Maybe money, credit, a plaque, or some type of card? Maybe a car. Yeah.
A plaque would be nice. You know what I mean? But no, hey, no one owes anyone shit in this world. You know what I mean? We gotta pave our own way and surround ourselves with the right people to make those things happen. Like, and that's something that Robin and I did for each other. So, like I said, the moment you feel that you're owed in this world, you're gonna be fucking disappointed, man, because we all need to be accountable for ourselves.
Yeah.
right? And putting a purple belt on him was easy as shit, right? Because he's, like I said, he's trained and studied for years, and aligned himself with me, who was very like-minded, and it like that whole experience is fun as hell, man. No one owes anyone shit in this world, man. That's part of our problem with people who, you know, who suffer from addiction and PTSD and all these, and depression, all these things. Like, we all feel we're owed something. That's why it's so easy to get fucked over. When you start taking accountability for your own shit in life, then life really is a lot easier.
The only time it changes.
Facebook, Justin.
What's that?
Justin's not on Facebook. No, I bet you he's not on Facebook. Yeah,
no.
I don't think it's possible to live a mentally healthy life and be on Facebook. That's like absolutely. Angry. Yeah, it's an angry place. Justin, we wanted to bring you in here to say hi to Robin. We're going to have you back on the show. We just wanted to do Is It Your Life? I really appreciate you hanging out there, and we're going to have you on next week, so thank you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Justin, where do you train out of?
I train out of a few different gyms. I had my own gym, Brooklyn Martial Arts in Oshawa, but this whole COVID thing kind of put me on a new path. But I'll still teach and train at a lot of gyms all in the like just outside of Toronto. And I just got back from training in Texas a couple of days ago. I was all over the place. Check me out at Brooklyn MMA on Instagram.
Cool.
Brooklyn
any kids
MMA on Instagram.
Any kids worth watching before we let you go?
James Clark, man, I'll always shout out James Clark. Robin knows exactly who he is.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, he's the epitome of fucking it all up and turning it around and doing something good with your life. He's a great kid.
I like him.
Good, we're having co-hosts.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Good, because that's all we put on this podcast. People who fucked up the first half of their life only to take charge of the second.
Yeah, it seems that way, man. Trust
what
me.
What if you've maintained the momentum?
Thanks, Justin. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Justin.
Yeah,
Talk to you in a bit, man.
Yeah, see you, man.
That's good. That's quite the trip. There you go.
Can I tell you a quick story? When I was growing up, so we went to the two different high schools in Whitby. And, you know, if there was always the Brooklyn Spring Fair, and we used to call it the Brooklyn Spring Fights because everyone would fight. But we'd live in our neighborhood, and then there were the other high school people lived in their neighborhood, and someone would come into like the basement and be like, "Oh, there's fights over at the lacrosse box tonight," and we're like, "Yeah." Like, no, Bruckman's fighting. And we're like, okay, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
And we would go. There'd be like 300 people watching Justin Bruck. And by the way, he was a small dude in high school.
Yeah.
Like, he was like
lean
the
and
toughest
long
dude ever, but he was like pretty short. Like, he told me on the phone today when I asked him if he wanted to come on, if he, like, I'm like, dude, like, you were, like, I felt like you were small. He had a growth spurt, like, late, like when he was like 16, 17 or something. Because when he was in like grade 9 or 10, he probably weighed 115, 120 pounds. Like, but tougher than shit.
Yeah, when you guys talk to him next week, ask him about his life too. It's like he will be one of the, and you may hear this occasionally when you hear people who became a fighter or hip hop, became a rapper or whatever they did that it saved their life. But Justin's one of these guys that when he's fighting people, the world makes sense. And you at a certain age, you don't get kicked in the head anymore, and you shouldn't kick other people in the head. But martial arts is still sort of a key element to his life. He's got a killer story. He's a really, man, you guys might have to like literally officially make this show only about people who figured it out in a later chapter.
I think so. I love talking to people about their journey, and I also love talking to the things about people they've created, things that they've created, like your BINKS series. First of all, I'm going to play you what I'm talking about. If Robin Black MMA on Twitter does these breakdowns, like these minute and a half long breakdowns. Some are quick, some are short, and they're called BINK. And it traditionally, every single one of these breakdowns has someone getting absolutely fucking floored. But it's cartoony, if we can use that phrase. But this is what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to get to another one. But
I'm Robin Black, and this is your 1 minute breakdown. BINK. Look at that. That is something so beautiful. It's so elegant. It's exquisite to the human eye. And why do we find this to be so beautiful to watch, this movement? Well, let's see what it is. It could be a round kick, but what it is a round kick to the ground that uses the momentum to create a spinning kick. And then watch the spinning kick. It could be a spinning kick all the way through, but what it is a spinning kick that hangs and uses its momentum to spin with the back leg into the arc here. Watch it. So we saw a round kick to the ground, and then a spinning kick to a hang, and then a spinning kick with the foot behind it. Look at the beautiful path, the arcs of those weapons. When we see this, we see beauty in nature. Some would call this a butterfly kick, some call it a double spin, some call it a round to spinning round. I just call it perfection, human beauty.
And hundreds of those, and now it's a thing. Like now it's a thing because you've taken extreme violence and someone getting their entire face fucking kicked in and turned it into this beautiful explanation of humans dancing and stuff like that. But really, I don't even know how you get away with it because Twitter traditionally doesn't like promoting violence. But at the same time, it is such a huge thing. Has it taken you, like, where did you come up with this? And is it just a one-off thing that turned into a thing? But it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
And have you ever decided to bink porn? Because that would be hilarious.
It's funny. I actually have a friend, Sean Wheelock, and he's one of the, like, a very, very successful mainstream play-by-play guy. And he was hired to narrate porn for blind people. And he does. I've never watched it. I asked, and he gets paid extraordinarily well. And I asked him about it, and he says, "Oh, I just do it very medically." It made me curious, but no, I haven't watched it yet. But yeah, you can do that with anything. Like fighting is the ultimate expression for me. But I was a gymnast as a little kid, and I was a high diver. 1 and 3 meter diving was what I mainly did, although I did platform as well, and then a martial artist. So it's the human movement that I've always found interesting. What you saw there took place in a ring presented as a sport. So Twitter and everybody else shows it because it's sport. It's available everywhere. But I see the sport and the sport presentation. And I talk about the UFC on TSN, so I talk about the sport regularly. But I feel like our perspective of something when presented using primarily the language of sport stops us from being able to see the art, the performance art, the movement art, etc. And the further we go down describing sports, the further we get away from the human movement, the biology, the emotion. You know, those guys are fighting. That is a culmination of their entire life experience, fears and anxieties and things were taught when they were 1 and 7 and 14 years old. And all of that is part of it. And it's all sitting there. And I've been looking at it this way. I've been cultivating out of curiosity and passion how to see it this way for, much of my life, certainly the last 15 years acutely. And nobody, it's there, but it's not shown, and I have the ability to show it. So I started doing it. I did longer forms of that on a network called Fight Network around 2012. And then they cut our entire department. Dean talked about getting fired. It was a point where they just cut our department. All of a sudden, I had a job at a 24-hour combat sports channel, and the next day I had no job. And I had to figure out how to do what I love to do. And when we made those, I stood in front of a television, and I had an editor, a lighting guy, makeup, producer, director, everything, building it, and I did television. And I got home, and I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do the thing that I love to do? And I bought an iPad, and I went on YouTube, and I typed in how to edit movies, and a 9-year-old girl came up and she taught me to edit movies. And then I bought a golf app, a golf simulator, and figured out how to draw it. And eventually I made one. And as soon as I made one and I put it out, I was like, if I make 2,000 of these, I will develop skills that I don't even know exist right now. In a way, and if the act of making 2,000 will probably reach a lot of people, but more importantly, they'll make me good at this. And and it's called a craftsman's mindset. You put your head down and you don't give a fuck how many people watch it, how they talk about it, what the feedback is, how many clicks or likes. You literally just make wooden chairs all day long. And in my version of a wooden chair was those videos. And now it's 4 or 5 years later, and I make a really good living just doing that. It didn't exist. It was, even the MMA breakdown. I studied now all martial arts more so than the sport of MMA. But this idea of the breakdown of fighting didn't exist when I started doing it. Now it's a very normal thing. I don't claim to have invented it. They did it in football and other things, but it didn't exist, and now it exists. And I got 4,000 of them, and they've been viewed over 1 billion times.
Wow.
That's fucking mind blowing, isn't it? Like we think about
Very
that.
cool.
Just out of a like, and I laid a basement floor watching people lay basement floors on YouTube as well.
Yeah,
and it was like I was going to the bathroom. I'm like, I got to lay some vinyl, and I watched this video while I was doing a poop, and I'm like, fuck, now I can lay a floor. But I don't think there are a lot of people that stop before they get to that point. You didn't stop, like you said, fuck, I got to figure this out. So you did it, which is that's such a huge victory. Like that outcome itself is such a massive fucking story. And I think people thought you caught lightning in a bottle, but it literally is you saying, here's what I'm left to. Here's what I will put out, and I will enjoy that. And I'm not going to worry about what happened and what brought me here, right?
Didn't matter. And literally 1 billion people have watched that now. It's over 1 billion views between all of them. And 4 years ago, I could not edit a video. I didn't know how. I'd never done it. I just I didn't know how to take a video. Never put one somewhere to start editing it. And now 1 billion people have watched that. I didn't have a collection of skills and suddenly do a thing. And then I just fucking started at zero. And then now I get to do that. I sit here in this place and could beam up into TSN wearing a suit and talk about the UFC and fly all around the world, sit next to cages and rings and commentate it. I do it in a different way because I'm celebrating the art of it instead of just talking about the X's and O's of sport, which is kind of the way the pendulum has swung right now. We're very much in a sort of a left brain kind of way of looking at things, everything, the kick to the punch to the block to the footwork. Whereas to me, explaining fighting by saying he punched him, he slipped, he hit him, he moved, he kicked, is the equivalent of trying to explain to people what they're speaking, what they're saying when they're speaking Mandarin by talking about what they're doing with their mouths, tongue, and trachea. You know what I mean? Like we're not actually explaining what is happening when two human beings fight or do gymnastics or dive or whatever. We're literally saying he made a sound with his tongue. Now he opened his mouth. Now his trachea vibrated. Like we're not discussing the language. We're literally discussing the physical expressions of how to speak Mandarin. We're not explaining Mandarin. Same thing with fighting. When two humans or fight, again, climb, do gymnastics, whatever, their brains are doing nonstop calculations on feedback loops with their neurology and their body and their vision, taking in stimuli and making it move to the motor cortex to move their body. That shit's happening. And we're saying, he threw a punch, he slipped it, bink, knocked him down. It's so far to what could be done, what is possible to be done, explaining this art form that I do. And I'm at such a rudimentary level of it. And knowing that allows me to go, it is unlimited what is possible. What we could do to inspire somebody or give them an aha moment or make them laugh or smile or see humanity different or learn to be a better sister or brother. All of that could be done by explaining martial arts if I keep at this for 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or as long until I die. And that's my thing. And I dig it. And
it's an awesome thing. And if you're good at it, you can do it on the fly, right? Like you can bink on the fly. So I've got a video here I want to play for you, and I'll bring it up. This is from maybe one of the most devastating MMA kicks I've ever seen. It comes to us, I believe, out of Japan, if I'm not mistaken, or Korea. I can't remember, but I'll let you watch it one time, and we'll all watch it together, and then I'd like you to bink it if you can. Here you go.
Yeah. That's a lot. Here we
go. It's a lot of dudes. Here we go. They're just getting started. I don't understand anything. Big guys.
Yeah.
The guy on the
Japan.
right looks like he's 7 years old.
Okay, so you're watching it.
Very large.
Yeah, here you go. I don't know if you've seen this one, but this is one of my favorite fights ever.
But I think this is from Korea.
Okay, Korea.
Yeah, I wrote
we got the big guy on the left, big guy on the right.
Yeah.
Go. Here we go. Tap and right about coming up right there.
Yeah. So young man, Origal, yeah, he's oh man, yeah. So That hurt.
Maybe he had a Prince Albert in at the, do a lot of
That's why you take that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that. You
Okay.
you can see what happened there. I'll restart it.
Okay.
And I want Robin Black's live bink of maybe the most devastating nut shot in MMA. I don't know that there's a more devastating nut shot. Here we go.
Yeah. All right. Heavyweight badass versus a super heavyweight Steve. They're looking at each other, and as they're weighing this in, psychological chess pieces are being inserted into this game. The touching gloves is deceptive. What you're going to notice here is heavyweight badass. What you'll see there, now there's super heavyweight Steve. He seems ready, but as heavyweight badass comes out, watch what he does. Well, this is called feinting or faking. It's a full body feint, so watch right there. See, he's lowering his level, dropping his hips down, suggest bink. And there, unfortunately, what was happening is oh wow, I think he damaged. Yeah, you can see that's either his wang or that's the cup. I think it is shattered. Now, when impact strikes a plastic cup, oh wow, yeah.
Are you sure?
I think what's happened is it's
the cup
skin. The edge of the cup has split the. Well, yeah, I'd feel bad too. It's like, what? Is it over? Yeah, it's fucking over. So if anybody has ever had this happen to them, the cup is shaped, as you might imagine, as a cup. And it has edges and lips. And the one edge, when the strike hits on any part of the surface area of the edge is so small, all of those pounds per square inch are, wow, now they're going to cut. He's not dead. Please don't pull it over. Why are they warning him?
He's crying. He's crying. He is. You know what? He is pulling his nuts away from himself because they are causing so much pain, and they've covered this poor guy.
So testicular trauma is a very real thing, my friends.
Apparently,
they use that color blanket to soothe the mind and temperament of the victim.
Yeah, wow. So I will tell you, when I was a kid and I fought Taekwondo, I went the most damage that I ever took. I went for a high kick, and as I did, the guy was going for a middle kick, and the cup actually sat on one testicle. And this is not a joke. I'm not kidding. I have one, and I've never told this before, but it is factually true. I have one sort of regular testicle, like not shaped weird, but like a ray, and the other one's sort of a blob. And it's where the outside, what is the word that you look for? It's sort
one
of
bald man.
Well, no, it's one in a blob. I mean, it's not just gone, like it's one and sort of a blob there, where there's the capsule, I believe it's called, like the testicular capsule. I think I'm sort of being fast and loose with the biology here, but there is sort of a housing that holds it all in there. I think I damaged that, so that's more of a jellyfish now. So I've got kind of one and sort of this, but clearly I had enough swimmers. It worked. January 17th, I'm due to have a daughter. So
friend of mine was in military, and he would go to camps in the summer when we were in high school, and then he went into the military afterwards, and he was standing at attention at this camp in the Okanagan, and the commanding officer came up. He was smirking or something, or made a crack, and the commanding officer kicked him square in the nuts. And my buddy didn't really do anything about it. And when he came home, he confessed to his parents that he was beaken off and he got kicked in the sack and that there was a problem and he needed to go to the doctor. So they took him to the hospital in Cranbrook and they removed one of his balls.
Wow.
And they put in a prosthetic in its place. So he has, so one of his nuts is plastic. And then years later in the military, he was doing a physical. And the doctor did one of the cough and goes, hold on, what's going on here? And then offered to replace the fake ball with one bigger because it was so much smaller than the other one. And he's like, you want me to sit down on the fucking table, cut my nutsack open again just to put another ball in? Because he's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I'll live with this.
Yeah, proportionality is important, I guess, to some, but no, I'm not
Symmetry.
doing that
It's all
either.
about
Thanks,
symmetry,
Doc.
really.
Yeah. Also, symmetry. That's what we were looking for.
Yeah, streamline. It's just so you can run faster, right? That's the only reason why you want to even those things out. Dude, I got to thank you for spending an hour and 10 minutes with us on your birthday.
My pleasure.
This has been a long
Look how
time
sweaty
coming.
I am. It's hot in Toronto.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Do you not have air conditioning?
I do, but it's like I have a house in Stratford, Ontario, but this is my studio, and it's kind of like, you know, we live here too, but there's an air conditioning in the window unit in the bedroom here. So over here it gets hot under these lights. Yeah.
Well,
thank you
listen,
for having me, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Great to see you. Thank you for spending time with us. Again, special day. It's your birthday. Wish Robin Black a birthday. Robin Black MMA on Twitter. Follow his BINKS and follow him and follow him on Twitter, because there aren't many people that I go, fuck, he's such a great follow, because I get stuff from him that makes sense to me. He's one of those cats. So appreciate you more than you know. Thanks so much for being here, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Same to you, and guys. Thanks, guys.
It's nice seeing you again, Robin.
It was a total slice. I really enjoyed it. And let's do it again. And please, next week, when you see Justin, please remind him that I love him.
We will.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. That is Robin Black, MMA analyst / expert. We can call him an expert because he knows more about MMA than you or me or anybody else. And if Joe
I had
Rogan
lots
said it,
of
he knows
questions.
MMA.
That was amazing.
Too fast?
Well, no, but I had a lot of like fight stuff that I wanted to get to. But I mean, I have no regrets whatsoever about what that ended up being. But yeah, the game is really it's really been impacted, and it's been interesting because through the COVID, MMA kind of found a way to do this, right?
Yeah,
they made it work. The UFC in particular became one of the only sports, and I think I even got into it more. Because it was one of the few things that was available, right? And I like sports, and I wanted to ask him, and maybe if we ever bring him back, I'll try to remember to ask this question. But the one thing that I found really tough was the first couple of fights after they started again, and they had no audience, and you could literally, I mean, I bet you he has a very different opinion of it, but I found it hard to listen to it because you could hear like you could hear everything. You could hear the refs chatting with them. You could hear the commentators. You could hear the fighters beacon the commentators every once in a while. It was so interesting, and it changed the watching fights for me. Anyway.
The pugilism, like you could hear people's faces getting broken.
Yes.
Like you could hear arms snapping.
Yes. Yeah. It was awful. Yeah. Anyway.
I liked it. That was kind of what got me into it, to be honest with you. I was like, I got nothing else to watch. And I can't remember whose leg snapped. It was like, it was early in Fight Island.
It was a kick, and it snapped when he kicked.
I don't know who it was, but
I forget the guy too, yeah.
And the sound that his leg make when it snapped, that matched the visual, because when we see broken legs on TV, we're like, oh, that looks like it hurts. But the sound brings it home. It really touches the senses. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch this again. My God, because it was so fucking intense, but that's what got me into it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I loved it. And I'm sure he'll come back, so you can ask him that.
Yes. Interesting. I remember when he was in the band, and he was a lot of work. Like it was very hard to interview him.
Yeah, imagine that guy with that energy, but telling you how life and rock and roll works.
Yeah, and he's on blow, and apparently amphetamines.
So Jimmy Ivan.
Yeah, Jimmy Ivan.
So, but like, am I getting this correctly? He put, and I'm not making fun of him, but I'm just trying to figure out why the timeline is what it is. He tried to do a glam rock hair band in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what he was attracted to, dude.
Do what you love.
He started doing that in the late 80s, early 90s.
It
was late 80s.
He toured punk bands, like punk clubs, right?
Right.
Like I feel
like someone mentioned the Bovine earlier.
It wasn't late 90s. It wasn't late 80s. It wasn't late 90s. It was he was on the other end of it for sure.
Yeah.
But he was still going pretty strong in the early 2000s when I was in radio in Winnipeg. Like he was a well-known entity in the music community when I was there.
You know, imagine this. Like when I, talking to him and listening to him today was such a fucking mind bender for me, because literally the last time I saw that cat, he was the other guy that we were showing you pictures of, the drugged out kind of rock star trying to make it in a fucking hairband and no one saw him. Yeah. And then like this was him, right? He's wearing an anal bead around his neck. Like that was him.
I feel like he beat up Mark Holmes once, probably,
from Platinum Blonde.
Yeah. Just because.
I hope so.
You know what? He, I think with him and the rock thing, I'm not sure that, I mean, it wasn't about a timing thing. He was so aggressive and aggro in that scene that I think that, I mean, he did a lot of damage to his own career, from what I remember, because he was difficult. Like Dean even talked about it. Like when he came down, you butted heads. You might have had some appreciation for each other, but it was like immediately confrontational. And it's
dude,
not
I remember
surprising.
when he came into the studio once with his band, and we were interviewing him, and this was when he was with Robin Black and the Intergalactic Rock Stars. And the only reason why we interviewed him is because I thought, oh great, he's a total weirdo. I can make fun of him for 20 minutes and everybody will laugh on the radio and we'll get ratings and all that other stuff. And it's exactly what we did. And he stood there and took all of it. And after it, he cursed me out. I cursed him out. And then about a year later, he came back and he was into MMA and he looked a little bit healthier. And he came in and he started to make some changes. And I'm like, oh fuck, he's probably the worst MMA fighter. And I remember talking to him about it on the radio, and he was really honest about not being good, about wanting to learn. And that's when I'm like, oh fuck, there's something different about this guy. Like he's trying to figure it out. He was in his early 40s, I would imagine, or late 30s, early 40s. And then the next time I see him, it's literally a year and a half ago, and he pops up on TSN. And he's jacked, and he's honest, and he's educated, and he's terrific when he talks about the verbiage and the fight and how it goes. I mean, he was a completely different fucking human being. Completely different human. And he will tell you this, and I'll tell anybody this too. The only thing that changed with him and people that you see that have made real life changes is perspective. Like that's it. Their life didn't change. How they viewed life changed. And that's what I found really fucking interesting, which is why I asked him about tools and how he got to where he needed to be. But he's a fucking great story and a great interview. Like how many guys with legitimate jobs start an interview out talking about their pierced dick and their pierced gooch? How many? Zero. Yeah,
that's a thing. Like I've heard more than a couple of people with the pierced taint thing. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm on board, but
I learned something today too, that Prince Albert had a hog that was so fucking big he had to put a chain link on it and tie it to his fucking hip.
I don't believe James and I are on the same page on that. That's something he just made up to make an excuse for.
What's that hook for, darling? Well, let me tell you.
1861.
Spun some yarn.
1861. The guy's name was Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg. And the legend has it, and I just looked it up. He died at the age of 42 when he was like when he was 26 years old. Legend has it, his dick was so big that he had to chain it to his hip.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the first story he told on this on the trail towards the saloon or whatever.
I'm sure he did. Before we go, I want to play this video because it's the best video I've seen in a long time. And it's of Lachlan.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm going to play?
I do know. My wife caught me yesterday taking the garbage to the...
This is Lachlan taking out the garbage in a fucking
Speedo.
Pair of bikini briefs. It's bikini briefs in the fucking middle of the day on his street. And it's to ZZ Top's legs. Yeah. There he comes. Here he comes.
You know what the funny part is? He's not actually walking in slow motion. That's just how fast he walks to do this. Right?
No shirt. He's got hiking boots on, and he's wearing a fucking Speedo. Why?
I was just getting comfortable. I was out doing a couple of things out back, and I needed to take the
Lachlan,
garbage to the curb. I was getting a
this to
little sun
me-
on my ass.
This is the essence of don't give a fuck August or whatever it's called, because
Yeah.
this to me is exactly what you should be doing. Like, look at you.
By
You
the way,
look
I'm
like
wearing
a strapping, kind of mentally deranged person, and it's awesome. Look at him.
I'm wearing Crocs. I got to admit that because my neighbors, I don't get along with any of my neighbors.
No.
And I do things like that out of, I don't know,
Fucking fun.
spite. I don't know exactly why.
Same.
I know that the neighbor next door, she will fucking die a slow death. And she'll come out and she'll be like, Jeff, fucking Lachlan's in his fucking Speedo again. Like, I know that conversation's happening, so I'm okay with that. By the way, James had the best line on Twitter, I think. It was like, he's actually not taking the garbage to the curb. He's just carrying his balls around.
Yeah. That's how he handles his balls on those hard to manage humid days.
You know what I love about this? I love the fucking confidence a 51-year-old man has.
I look
that
good. What are you talking about?
You look actually really good.
Are you sucking in? Be honest.
No,
Yeah, are
no.
you? No,
I'm not a real, no. I haven't got I got a bit of a shit locker, but I got full view of my cock.
Oh my God, you look like a wrestler in the 70s now. Look at you.
I had this on loop today while I was getting ready. And I also subsequently was naked because I was getting ready, and I just put it on loop while I was getting ready I got out of the shower. It was on my computer. It's next to my bed. And I was watching this, and I'm like, I would never do that, which is why I respect it so much. Yeah. It's a fuck you to your neighbors. It's a fuck you to the world. It's a fuck you to the garbage people. Nothing says you don't give a shit like a 51-year-old strolling out to the curb. Yeah.
Yeah. It's becoming a movement. Yeah.
It's incredible. Anyway, thank you for that. I love it.
I should just do all videos in a bikini.
Yes, you should.
For the rest of the month. Cleaning the eaves
see why
troughs.
You should start selling Girl Guide cookies.
You should go over to your neighbor's house, say in your Speedo, and especially the lady that fucking hates your guts, and say, yeah, listen, I noticed your eaves troughs are full. I'm just going around getting rid of the garbage in everybody's eaves troughs for nothing. Do you mind? Do you mind if I get my ladder and get up there and clean out your eave troughs and record that conversation?
Yeah, ask people if they have any recyclables that you can take off their hands. You know, any cans or bottles.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Just a recycling drive.
Yeah.
Look at this is the greatest. God, I love you, Locke. What a beauty.
Old Bonzi, I know he ran his garbage to the curb in a bikini. For sure he did.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, you know what? He texted me today and he's like, I just want you to know I look great and I feel great. And I'm on a really strict diet and I run 5 kilometers every day. I'm like, it's not a lot. He's like, oh.
Well, I've only been doing it for 2 days anyway, so.
Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, I mean it. I haven't missed a day in 2 days.
He doesn't have to exercise. It's 117 degrees in the Palm Desert.
Yeah,
that's true.
Just have to go to the corner store and you'll lose 6 pounds.
Just pace it for
thanks for doing this today, fellas. Appreciate it. Great to see everybody.
That was
fun.
good. That was really good. That was amazing. That's a flash from my past chatting with Robin Black. Wow. As soon as I haven't made the connection yet with the Robin Black on TSN and the band until you said it. Every time I see him, I go, I know that fucking guy. I never put 2 and 2 together until you told me had him on the podcast today. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Winnipeg, Robin Black, Internet Galactic Rock Stars, whatever the band was.
I remember really.
I bet you had one of his records behind me.
I remember hating him when he was doing the Much Music VJ search thing. And I don't even know why I hated him. I was like, fucking like that guy. Just like as a judge.
He was so aggressive. That's what it was, right?
I didn't know who he was. And I think that's what my problem was. I was just being a fucking asshole critic towards him, I remember, in my own mind. But I didn't know who he was. And I was like, why is this guy so like, I run this shit? Like, why is he the guy that like is claiming to run the shit? But anyways, but I didn't know that was the same guy that did the Bink videos. Like I feel like the guy's been like 7 people in his career.
Yeah.
I think two. He's been like, as he pointed out, when the universe tells you shouldn't be a rock star.
Well,
and I remember telling him that when he came on the show. No, but he came on the show once and he was talking about his band and how great their music was. And I remember literally in the middle of the interview going, dude, it's not that good.
Plus, you can't do glam rock post Nirvana. Like,
and
how do you do that?
It's gonna be
like
good, and I'm like,
no, man.
It's not that good.
They were more of a punk thing. I get the glam thing. I understand that, but musically, they were in your face, man. Like him talking about porn. I saw him live too. I saw that. Like he did that I think it was whiskey or something he poured and sprayed it on people, or just even a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were punk rock, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were fun. I mean, it was what it was. The guy's got a ton of self-awareness out now, though, and he knows what it was and what it is. So
very interesting,
but it was fun.
right?
Yeah.
Like I loved hearing him. He was so eloquent too about where he's at and his mindset too. Like very eloquent.
Yeah, it's a student's mindset. Like Justin was talking about it, right? I think that is kind of the thing. Like, I think that if you can have the student's mindset your whole life, you never really take anything personally because you're always taking in information. And I love the fact that that's kind of how he approaches life, right? I think that's how we should all approach life. It's fun to tell everybody what you know, and it's even better being right all the time. But sometimes it's fun to be a good person.
It's also hard being right all the time.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I've tried to square that. Speaking of being right, Bonzi joins us. You just popped in. You totally said that.
Just back
from
totally
said that.
Great show today.
He looks like Mike Keenan today. Look at him.
Listen, those words. What did you say? I never said anything I said to you. I posted a picture of a smidgen of peanut butter with some honey and cinnamon, and then you said something, and I was like, "Oh, I've just, I've been running every day. Me and the boys are, me and my 2 kids are on this mission. They're way ahead of me because old Dad's still got the dad belly going. So, and then that was, and you said something about running. I said, join me for a 5K. You're like, I walk 10K every day, faster than you. And
I did
so I
say
was
that,
is that a challenge? And then
well, how are we going to challenge? Well, because I was doing a show, dude. For fuck's sakes, I got to get on, do a show. It's not like I can sit and have a great conversation with you while we're doing a show. Yeah, no, but this is what you put. This is what you posted. This is the picture that you posted. So Bonzi posts this, but he's like, "I'm on a diet." Then he posts a picture of a spoon full of honey, sugar, and cinnamon, and I'm like, "That's not a fucking diet, dude."
It's sugar-free peanut butter. There's hardly any peanut butter there. It's cinnamon and honey.
What does that do?
It's just a little delicious treat to tempt me from ordering a fucking tub of ice cream or 14 chocolate bars and 10 bags of chips.
That's a Cletus dessert, is what that is. Check out my sweet. It's on a spoon.
It
looks like heroin. Delicious. You have it on a spoon. Like,
It was delicious. I had 1 spoonful of it, and then I went to bed. Or I went and watched a movie in bed and then fell asleep. And that was perfectly satisfied. It perfectly satisfied my craving. That's all. And I am.
And what else are you doing?
There might be something to this, guys. Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
Oh, well.
What else are you doing? Are you running? You said you're running like 5K a day?
I run 5K every single day. I've been doing it for almost a month, bar missing a few days here and there. I lift the weights every time after I run first, then I hit the weights, and I'm eating super healthy on this bus. There is no restaurants around. I do not order Uber Eats, and I've been killing it. This time I'm fully dedicated.
Yeah, where are you? Where are you now?
Way better. Yeah,
still in Palm Desert. Okay. Yeah. And listen, it's been great. I've been way off the booze, which has been awesome. I really I'm in a groove here. Fuck, I went golfing yesterday and it wasn't even that hot out. It was like 106, I think. And I almost passed out. I almost had to go home. It was he gets to you here. Yeah. It was pretty hot.
Just want to double back to something Locke just said under the guise of silence. Yeah. He's like, he said, cut down on the booze.
I was trying to be funny.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
I got
just
it,
so you know,
I got it
you
right
may have
away,
missed
buddy.
it. about 24 hours ago, he was regaling us in a story about he came home from the bar, barfed in his backyard, and then stumbled into the basement where he woke up next to his dog naked. So
don't forget about the encrusted teardrops staining.
I did wake up naked, but this is a part I left out of the story, and I sleep.
Do you want some naked? Do you want some naked music?
Sure.
Just
all right.
do it.
Oh, sorry, fuck it. Here's some naked music.
I sleep buck naked. I have my whole life. I don't own pajamas. I strip down and crawl in and crash, and I'm a good sleeper. And I woke up on Sunday morning after, we don't need to get into it again, but I had my socks on. So I'm just socks, like a black pair of socks. It's not a good look. Like, you saw me take the garbage to the, So I'm just sitting there, cock and balls, sitting on the floor, and just a pair of black socks on. And I'm sitting there trying to get myself off the floor.
Did your kids happen to come down into the basement that morning before you got? Okay, good.
No, they've been so busy lately.
That is the traditional rock bottom wardrobe.
Just a pair of black socks.
I caught the show yesterday, Dean, and I loved it when you asked Lachlan, and you prefaced it by saying this is a serious question. You're like, did that really make you kind of rethink your actions at 52 years old? And he's like, yeah, no, not really.
No, it was the hemorrhoid. Yeah, it was the hemorrhoid that got me thinking.
Good for you, Locke. You're never changed.
I had to go search for Preparation H, and that made me reevaluate. By the way, that stuff is amazing. That stuff is not enough is said about how great that shit works.
Toothpaste works just the same. You'll be fine.
Really?
That tightened old knot up right away.
Don't use Vagisil. It has a whole weird effect.
Dude, I had hemorrhoids once. I ate a whole tube of that shit and nothing happened.
Lachlan swears by.
Nothing happened. But I was whistling. I was whistling better than I've ever whistled before.
Oh man, God. If they ever need a spokesperson for Preparation H, hi, I'm a 51-year-old alcoholic male.
Back it up. I have to deal with something here because I have friends like you. I've got one friend who's a doctor, and you know what he does? He preps for his drinking like that. So he'll go out and get a tube of Preparation H before he goes drinking. And he'll get
is that
IV
a thing
drip.
Then? Am I
Yes,
the only one?
yes.
Where's the correlation between booze and
application
hemorrhoids?
of Preparation H? That's crazy.
Then he'll get an IV drip of saline solution. So when he comes back from the bar, fucked up, he pre-puts the needle in his arm and tapes it over and then goes out and gets as drunk as he can. And then he hooks up to an IV when he gets home so he doesn't have a massive hangover in the morning. And he said to me, I talked to him like 2 weeks ago. He's like, yeah, it works like a charm. I'm like, red flag? IV drip?
I never feel anything. He never feels any of the
he's porting a vein before he goes
feelings of being a drunk.
And he doesn't think that's an issue.
He never gets depressed because he rids himself of the post-drunk, depression and all that shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
we've done that in Nicaragua
I am
before.
so glad we had this conversation because I thought I was on an island on the whole getting hemorrhoids after a bad night of drinking. It happens almost every time.
Lachlan's going to be dragging his IV bag next time to the curb.
If I knew how to give myself an IV, boy, I'll tell you.
Good to see everybody. Bonzi, thanks for popping in. Great to see you. Really glad you're well. We'll see you tomorrow on the program, right? Tomorrow's your day. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Good
Thanks
for you.
Thanks
for your honesty as always. Thanks for making us all feel like we're just as normal as you. I love it. I really
Have a good day, guys.
James D. Fiore, blackballmedia.ca is where you can find him. You can also find him on Twitter at James D. Fiore. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Man.
Great to see you.
Have a good one.
Talk
Good to see you, Bonzi.
You bet.
Yeah, you too, James.
And Bonzi, great to see you.
Always, pal.
Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
You bet.
Well, that's it for us. That's it. I'm going to get out of here. Go and do some things with my day. Make some dinner. Jays are playing tonight on the East. Actually, they're playing right now, so I got to go watch that. West. Have a great day, everybody. Fuck this music. Have a great day. Thanks for being part of the podcast. We appreciate it. You can find everything we do at deanblundell.com. Thanks to our friends at Ed's Fine Imports. His gits are what we wear, and you should too. Luxury branded underwear for the man that likes to be busy, moisture wicking. It's got the pouch in the front, and you can get a free pair of the top prospect in Gitch by going to edsfineimports.com with promo code GITCH and then 3. Super easy. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Our friends at Easy Auto Financial want to make it easy for you to get a car. They get your financing for you, and then they go and find the dealership and the car for you. They do everything. It's like turnkey, and it doesn't cost you a dime, no obligation. Listen, if you're in the mood for a car, if you're in the market for a car, if you want to buy a car and you want someone to take care of all the shitty details, EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Check them out today. Our friends at Blue Microphones, we're part of the Blue Crew. You can be too if you game, if you do any kind of podcasting, any kind of work online, Zoom meetings, whatnot, what have you. You need good stuff, and they make the best stuff. And cost per point, it's some of the most inexpensive professional equipment you can get. And they have everything. They've got the Blue Yeti X microphones. They got the Spark microphones. They got the bottle cap mics. They got everything. They've even got headphones. They're a Logitech group of companies, so they've got incredible cameras, level 3, 4, and 5. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know what those levels are. I just learned them too. So whatever, always learning. But go to Blue Microphones, and they'll sort you out. Blue Microphones on Twitter or bluemic.com for more information. And last but not least, our friends over at Envision, appreciate them. Envision Digital Solutions, everything for back end, from putting your website on to finding opportunities to looking for ways for you to be able to leverage your analytics. Go to Envision and you'll know more. It's who we use. You should use them too. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being part of the podcast. Thanks to Robin Black for joining us. Thanks to the guys for being part of the deal. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock right here with Bonzi. And Peter Nowak from Tech Savvy Solutions. 2 pairs of glasses, 1 me. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being part of whatever this was. Bye.